Bury Me Dead from 1947. What a great title. Sounds like something horror-related, maybe. Well, not exactly. I found out about this film when referencing films by Bernard Vorhaus. I was impressed with his work on The Amazing Mr. X, and I wanted to see more of his films. And in researching this one, I saw that not only did he direct it, but legendary cinematographer John Alton was involved, along with a lot of big names like June Lockhart of Lost in Space fame, Hugh Beaumont of Leave It to Beaver, and even Cathy O'Donnell, the actress I've seen in a number of films I've reviewed before, like They Live by Night. And she was also in the aforementioned Amazing Mr. X. So this really sounded like this would be a good one to check out. Well, was it good? Now, let me give a summary of the film. Spoiler free, and yeah, there was a humdinger of an ending, so I won't ruin that for you. And then after summarizing the film, I'll give some closing thoughts. So the opening of the film is just great. There's a big fire that has taken place, and it's believed that the character of Barbara Carlin, this is June Lockhart's character, has died in the fire. And we see her husband, Rod Carlin, actor Mark Daniels. He's trying to dash back into the fire to see if he can save her, but he's stopped, and she's believed to be lost. Now there's a funeral, and we find out that maybe things aren't as they seem.
That's right, driver. Just keep following the procession.
Whose funeral is it, lady?
Mine.
So indeed, Barbara is alive, and she watches the funeral secretly. And we hear her voiceover as she watches. Now, she doesn't seem too fond of Rod, her husband. Apparently, they've been having marital issues. So after the funeral, she climbs into the car with the character Mike, played by Hugh Beaumont, who is Rod's attorney, and I think her friend. Now, he's, of course, shocked to see her alive, but she explains that she had just been away, and she had returned, and the fire was going on, and she had no idea what had happened and who it was that was burned in the fire and was just buried. But she's got a lot of suspicion as to who it might have been that might have wanted to kill her. Well, Mike thinks it was an accident, but Barbara suspects foul play. So they return home, and while waiting, she talks with Mike and shares a memory of going to visit with her younger adopted sister, the character Rusty, played by Cathy O'Donnell. She's there with her boyfriend, this big lunk of a boxer, played by Greg McClure. So George is a boxer, and he's training, and he works with the character Sonia, played by actress Helen Lawrence, whom Rod seems to have an interest in. Barbara doesn't think much of George, and wants him to leave her sister alone, because the two are dating, but Rusty is, of course, resentful of this. So we are back in the present time. Rusty arrives home and seems shocked to see her sister alive, and yells at her, thinking that she did this just as a ploy to try to drive her insane. Well, they leave to go see Rod, and on the way, the butler sees them and acts a little surprised.
Good afternoon, Jeffers.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon, Jeffers.
Good afternoon, sir. Find Mr. Carlin lunching on the terrace.
Oh, thank you.
At least he wasn't surprised to see you alive.
Well, at least we'll never know.
Now, of course, Rod is surprised to see her alive and shares that she thinks someone tried to kill her and suspected it might even have been him. And this leads to another flashback of her on the phone with George when Rod goes to visit with her. Rod sort of figures out that Barbara is dating George, just to spite him. So they head to see George, but Rod steps into the ring and decides to challenge George to a fight. Probably not a good idea. George is massive, so this is pretty silly. And in fact, the match is very quick, and Rod gets slugged in the gut and sent to the ground. So they bring him in to lay down on a couch and recover. And this is when Helen shows up, and she and Barbara get into this comical slapping match. Okay, so the film is called Bury Me Dead, but so far it's turned out to be a lot different than I thought it was going to be.
Never when they're down. Ow! Now you keep going like that, you'll dig your own grave. Ow!
manhandling her again, huh? Oh, look.
Well, we jump back to the present time. Now, the servants all seem shocked that Barbara is still alive, but she assures them that she's okay, and they're all happy that she's back again. Now, it's here that the maid, Mrs. Haskins, played by Virginia Farmer, gives her account, and we jump back to another flashback. This is her observation of Rod and his relationship with Helen, and how she seemed mighty suspicious and seemed to want Barbara out of the way. You know, she would say things like, "She goes to the stables every night, you say." Well, remember, the stables burned down, so there's a lot of suspicion going on there, but we jump back to the present time, and now the character George shows up at the house, with Rod sort of puzzled as to why he's showing up. So he comes in, he sees Barbara, and comically passes out. So they wake him up with some water to the face, and, you know, he just doesn't know what's going on. He's wondering who had actually died. And when he finds out that it might have been Helen who died, we get another flashback of George talking about his love for Helen. But we can see from the scenes with the two of them together that Helen was just manipulating this big guy.
And I want you just as you are. Not a punch-drunk thumb with wide ears, a broken nose, and bells in your head.
Oh, I'll quit the fight racket. I'll have a career.
Just leave everything to little Helen and you'll have a career. Managing the Carlin estate.
Oh, but Helen, I can't stand it any longer. Every time I think of him...
Well, don't think. You know how thinking upsets you.
Well, later Rusty talks with Rod, and she confesses her love for him. You know, she's a younger sister to Barbara, and she even confesses that she has frequently tried to break up his marriage with Barbara because she wanted him all for herself, while quoting these weird psychobabble things like, "You need to throw off the chains of your own conscience," and, you know, stuff like that. But he tells her that, you know, he is in love with Barbara, and for all the faults of their marriage, he wants to make it work, and Rusty, she's only a child. And after Rod rejects her advances, well, she leaves to go to the police to accuse him of murder. Well, later that night, Barbara is home alone, and the lights go out, and a mysterious stranger attacks her with a fire iron. Now, around here, Rod and one of the servants arrive, and they help her up. He examines this iron, and Barbara questions why he came back again. And he tells her that he wants to try to make their marriage work again. Well, they're about to kiss when the police arrive. So they all leave, and I have to say that I really love the little bits of Milton Parsons as the butler Waters. You know, his scenes are just, they make me laugh. Here's one of them. Well, the police hear Rusty's testimony about Rod, and it sounds really weak, like she's just making it up, but they still take him in anyway for questioning. Now, watching the film, John Alton's work, it's been good so far, but I think he really starts to shine when you get into the scenes like the shadowy police station. I mean, look at how good some of this looks. And check it out. He's getting questioned by Charles Lane. It's Homer Bedloe of Petticoat Junction in chiaroscuro. Now, while he's being questioned, Mike hangs out with Barbara. They're playing cards, just kind of waiting for him to get back. And you know what's awesome? I mentioned in other reviews I've done of John Alton films like T-Men, how frequently there will be a focus on the lights and the lamps of the scene, almost like they are one of the stars of the film. And sure enough, check it out at the police station, the lamp gets a little bit of screen time as well. It's great. Now, Rod is slowly starting to put things together at the station as to who might have done this murder. And, oh man, that's closer to Homer Bedloe than I've ever wanted to be. Now, with only about 5 minutes left of the film and the big reveal about to take place, I can't really say much more. But as far as the cinematography goes, this is John Alton at his finest in these last few scenes. Good inky black noir, and I don't want to say much more, because if I do, it's just going to give away the ending. So there's another reason you need to go see this film for yourself. The cinematography and also the ending, which I thought was really good. Can Barbara figure out who the murderer was? Can the police solve the crime in time? Well, you got to see the ending for yourself. So let me wrap up with some closing thoughts. Bury Me Dead was released in 1947. It was directed by Bernard Vorhaus, and as mentioned, cinematography was by John Alton. I apologize for the quality of this film, but there just wasn't a clean version out there anywhere that I could find. I mean, it's not streaming on Prime, and this was really the best one, as apparently there's been no restored or cleaned up version of this film, which is a shame. Granted, it's not the greatest crime film I've seen, but for Alton's photography alone, it would have been nice if there was a good copy of this one. This was a PRC production, and although I'm not sure if it's in the public domain, there's really only a handful of sketchy copies out there. Now, my thoughts on the film. Going into this, I was expecting something much different. When I go into a movie, I try not to read too much about it. I just like to jump into it, watch it a couple times, and then start my research. So looking at this one, the title, Bury Me Dead, really caught my attention. Almost sounded like it could have been something horror related. I'm reminded of the fact that June Lockhart was also in the She-Wolf of London from 1946. But aside from a very suspenseful ending to the film, honestly, this felt more like a light-hearted murder mystery, with June Lockhart's character making lots of I'm back from the dead gags. There was a lot of physical silliness of the George character as this big lumbering boxer, goofiness of characters randomly passing out and so on. It's hard for me to know how to categorize this one, since it seems to be a mixed bag of, some suspense, some humor, some murder mystery. It definitely was not what I expected at all, but I did still enjoy it just the same. I like the idea of a group of suspicious characters, all who have various valid motives for a murder, and June Lockhart's character just trying to solve it and put it all together. And I thought the flashbacks were an interesting part of solving the puzzle. But again, they could often feel a little bit silly, or they just wouldn't give you very much to go on. Now, I did really like the final 5 minutes of the film, as there is a genuine creepiness to how things resolve that I don't want to give away. I mean, I can't really talk about it without completely spoiling the film, so I won't. The sinister lighting and the dialogue from that part of the film was fantastic. I kind of wish there had been more of that consistency to the film. To me, it's almost like all of the good stuff really happens near the end of the film with the police interrogation and then that big conclusion. And I know I keep harping on it, but John Alton's work is just excellent here. Plenty of strong contrast. Women have like glimmering, glowing light effects to their eyes or their jewelry. And as the film nears the end, the lighting of that house at night, it just looks so sinister and menacing. It's a shame, again, that this copy of the film is so muddy, as I would have loved to have seen a higher resolution version of this, just to appreciate the artistry of it. The performances were all great in the film, and I will admit that this might lead me into watching more of Hugh Beaumont's films, as I really like him as an actor, especially in films related to crime. I know he took on the role of Michael Shane, private investigator, in a series of movies, following the ones that Lloyd Nolan had made. So maybe I need to head into those next. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And, there wasn't much I could find in terms of trivia from this one. I mean, another title for the film was The Feuding Sisters, which seems just as odd of a title as Bury Me Dead. It's definitely an interesting film. And if you'd like to see some excellent John Alton work, then give this one a shot. Otherwise, be prepared for a murder mystery film that's maybe unexpected, a weird mix of slapstick with flashbacks, comedy, a little romance, some crime and suspense, and as mentioned, a great ending. Might not be for everybody, but I enjoyed it. Bury Me Dead from 1947, it was an interesting film, but the performances and the direction and cinematography definitely make it one worth checking out.